Michael Popak with a Trump on trial update. Well, the dreaded C word was used against Donald Trump today, contempt. And that was a warning by the trial judge, Judge Merchan, after he'd had enough with overhearing from the bench Donald Trump act out, shake his head, curse under his breath, and do other things while Stormy Daniels, yes, they used her stage name today when they called her to the stand for the prosecution, when Stormy Daniels went into great detail, almost salacious detail, about the sex act between her and Donald Trump. Donald Trump could be heard huffing and puffing, cursing, calling her names. Got so bad that the judge called Todd Blanche, the lead trial lawyer for Donald Trump, to a sidebar so that the jury couldn't hear it. Now, Susan Necklace, his co-counsel, was actually doing the cross-examination and making the arguments, but Todd Blanche is the first chair, so he got called on the carpet by the judge. And the judge used the C word. He said, your clients, I'm going to read you the transcript from the testimony, but let me give it to you in summary fashion. Your client, I understand, is upset. However, his comments out loud are contemptuous. Now, I would use the word contumacious, but either way, it gets to the same point, meaning Donald Trump's in contempt, or possibly in contempt because he's trying to intimidate a witness while she's on the stand. It's not the first time that Donald Trump has tried to do that. In the E. Jean Carroll case, in which it was proved by a civil jury that he committed a sex crime against E. Jean Carroll, for which he was entitled to punitive and regular damages, he tried to do the same thing during her testimony, cursing and huffing and puffing so the jury could hear it. And Judge Lewis Kaplan, the federal judge, admonished him at that time. Didn't find him in contempt, but let's be frank, Donald Trump is treading on dangerous ground and on thin ice with the judge, having already been gagged, re-gagged, found to have violated the gag order no less than 10 times, and being threatened with jail. I mean, that just happened a day or so ago. Judge told him, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. The dollar amount doesn't seem to bother you. We're up to 10 violations of my gag order at $10,000. I'm going to have to consider jail time. Now, here's what the judge said this time around. That's been reported, and this is from the transcript of the trial itself. The judge said, "I understand." This is to Blanche at sidebar without the jury's presence. "I understand that your client is upset at this point about Stormy Daniels' testimony about their sex act, but he is cursing audibly and he is shaking his head visibly, and that's contumacious, meaning contempt. It has the potential to intimidate the witness, and the jury can see that." And Mr. Blanche said, "I'll talk to him." And the judge was not done, because the judge is a judge. The judge said, "So I'm speaking to you here at the bench because I don't want to embarrass him. Mr. Blanche, I will talk to him. The court, you need to speak to him. I won't tolerate it. Mr. Blanche, I will talk to him." This is a lawyer, when they get into this sort of monotonous, sort of almost like they're in a trance-like state, that means they've lost control of their client. Todd Blanche has no control of his client. Donald Trump has control of his lawyers because he's running the show here and running the strategy. And the judge says, "One time I noticed that when Ms. Daniels was testifying about rolling up the magazine," I'm sorry, rolling up the magazine, that's when she said she found Donald Trump so obnoxious that he needed to be smacked or slapped. So she picked up a magazine with his face on the cover and playfully patted him on the backside. The jury laughed, by the way, at that. So the judge brought that up again privately. "One time I noticed when Miss Daniels was testifying about rolling up the magazine and presumably smacking your client, and after that point, he shook his head and looked down." In other words, he can't act out in front of a jury because it may have the effect of both influencing or intimidating the jury and or the witness who is on the stand. I've had plenty of clients that have tried to do, they just lose themselves in the moment in court. And I've had to tell them, pipe down, calm down, collect yourself, poker face. But I do it before the judge even has to tell me to do it. When you're Donald Trump, you got an extended gag order against you, and you're constantly doing things that are inappropriate, then you don't get the benefit of the doubt. The tie doesn't go to the runner, and you're going to be found in contempt. Proper sleep can increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been a game changer for my sleep, and boy, do I need sleep these days. I drink Beam's Dream Powder each night in order to get my optimal sleep. And I gotta say, I wouldn't be recommending this if it didn't actually help me. And today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. They're science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel, with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk froth and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and the New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code legalaf at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code legalaf for up to 40% off. So just in the last 48 hours, the judge has told Donald Trump basically one more time you violate the gag order. One more time you try to intimidate a jury or a witness. I'm going to have to look at incarceration. You're leaving me no other choice. And then the very next day, he thinks that he's absolved because he said, he's probably thinking, well, those are only my out-of-court statements. When I'm in court, I can do whatever I please. I have a First Amendment right to intimidate the witness. And the judge had to remind Mr. Blanche that was not true. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't learn anything from this. Mr. Blanche said, I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him. Well, let's see how well I'll talk to him went with a clip of Donald Trump right after that particular moment outside the courtroom. Let's roll the clip.
So this was a very big day, a very revealing day. As you see, their case is totally falling apart. They have nothing on books and records, and even something that should bear very little relationship to the case. It's just a disaster for the DA, for the Soros-backed DA. It's a disaster. This whole case is just a disaster. If you read the legal scholars, you'll see, because they're writing about it, they've never seen anything quite like it. And neither have I. I should be able to...
Does that look like somebody who's learned, who's been told by his lawyer that he needs to back up and back down, saying that the prosecutors had a terrible day in court, right? That this is bad for them and getting worse and going south on them? Look, the only thing that the prosecution can be accused of today, the only thing is that they probably lost a little bit of control of the narrative, no pun intended, and literally, with Stormy Daniels. And she was wound up pretty tightly. She'd been waiting to tell this story for a number of years in a court of law. Now is her chance. She's a nervous talker. She's told this story, I don't know, a dozen times, including on a recent documentary. And so when she got wound up, we weren't sure where she was going. It became like these narrative responses, paragraphs tumbling out of her mouth with a lot of hyper detail. Not necessarily things that relate to the case or to the issues that are in front of the jury. And that's the problem. When you have a witness like that, you have to get them to slow down, respond to the questions. That's really a prosecutor problem, and how they're leading the witness through the testimony. And what you might be thinking, well, who cares? Let her testify any way she pleases. Well, it gave the prosecution a little bit of heartburn today because the defense, Susan Necklace, for Donald Trump, got to argue that all of these salacious sexual details and even a suggestion or hint by Stormy Daniels that a sex crime got committed against her by Donald Trump is really prejudicial to this jury who's trying to figure out whether there's been business fraud, business record fraud, and election interference cover-up, not a sex crime. And so I think the prosecutors can be faulted a bit for kind of leaning too much into the Stormy Daniels story And then the jury, didn't quite know what to make of it. And it gave an opening for Donald Trump to argue mistrial. Now, that got rejected properly and denied. But look, there's now a new issue that's created on appeal, let's be frank, about how much detail the prosecutors needed to go into when they lost a bit of control of Stormy Daniels as a witness. It's happened to me. It happens to the best of us. There's ways to deal with it, though, on their feet. If I were the prosecutors, the senior prosecutors in the room, I would have pulled the lawyer that was handling it aside. I would have asked him to take a break and say to them, look, you got to get this witness under control. So you're going to have to almost treat her like a hostile witness and have her answer yes or no questions and get out of the narrative, get into cross-examination with her and ask to treat her as a hostile witness. That is one way to do it. Now, they chose not to do that at the risk that she was scoring some points with the jury, I assume. But that issue got Trump all riled up and put him on the path for contempt. Now, if based on the clip, he's not learned anything, and he'll just keep violating it, which means he's going to walk himself right into a jail with the judge. That's what's going to happen by his own making. We never got that far in the E. Jean Carroll case because that case lasted about 6 days. This case, we're already on day 13, day 14. So this is less than a minute, a New York minute. And Donald Trump is forced to sit in the courtroom. He only sat in the courtroom for a very short amount of time in the second E. Jean Carroll case. So, now we're watching what's happening. And that's not the only thing that Donald Trump said today that was inappropriate. He almost violated the gag order even before the day started because of Donald Trump's penchant for violating the gag order and disclosing witnesses and going after them and attacking them. He's lost the right, the judge said 2 weeks ago, he's lost the right to know well in advance about who the witnesses are. But let me explain that. They know who the witnesses are on the defense, of course, because the prosecutors have to reveal it to them. We're going to bring in these 12 witnesses. They just don't know the order in which they're going to be brought in. So they got to be prepared. I mean, look, you don't wait till the night before to prepare for the witness the next day. You have your witness folders as a trial lawyer well in advance. You pull the binder that's marked Stormy Daniels that you've prepared in advance. And if you haven't, then that's on you as a trial lawyer. And you say, oh, it's Stormy Daniels? Okay, great. Stormy Daniels, let's go. Stormy Daniels. In federal court, in criminal practice, you rarely find out. You find out in the morning who the witness in the afternoon is going to be. Same thing here. Donald Trump, oh, my due process rights were violated. We didn't know Stormy Daniels was going to testify. Really? At all? Ever? So, then he puts up another social media post that he has to take down. Like, oh, Stormy Daniels, I had no idea. So this is where we're at this point. He's treading water, Donald Trump. He's skating on thin ice. And the judge is already using the C word in the trial. They're trying to use the M word, mistrial, because Donald Trump loves arguing mistrial. He did it when Michael Cohen testified in the Attorney General case for the civil fraud. They didn't like his testimony. Oh, mistrial. He said things that aren't true. All right, well, then cross-examine him. Is this like trial practice 101? Do these lawyers not try a case before? Cross-examine the witness to show that you can impeach him because statements that are being made at different times don't match. So they did the same thing with Stormy Daniels. They said, oh, mistrial. So some of the things she said are inconsistent with some of the things she said in the past. Then cross-examine her on that point. Fair game for cross-examination. I'm not trying to eliminate the adversarial process in our criminal justice system. Just abide by it. That's all we demand here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. We'll continue to follow all aspects of the trial so that you can get a good understanding of what's going on, right? From an experienced trial lawyer who operates in courtrooms just like this one, this very courtroom in New York. So if you like what I'm doing, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up. You can also follow us on Legal AF. Yes. Join us on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube channel for MeidasTouch. You'll find out why we call it Legal AF. You could probably guess based on this hot take. We sit at the intersection of law and politics. We curate the top 5 stories and we bring them to you. Audio version, wherever you get your audio podcast. Video version on YouTube. Free subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel and help them get to 3 million, hard to believe, 3 million free subscribers before the election. That is our mission. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popak reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.